trend. A lot of people think only the very wealthy people or those with complicated assets are in need of wills and estate planning, but guess what? We all ought to be thinking about it, and sooner rather than later. So here to explain why is Bruce Sellery.
Hello, Tracy. And I don't do downer. I'm not doing downer. Of course they went wild. They're excited about the topic of estate planning.
Yes, they
are. It's why they're here.
Thrilled about it. Who needs a will, Bruce?
Everyone over the age of 25.
With kids, without kids,
doesn't matter. So let's do a quick poll here with our studio audience. Raise your hand if you have a will. You have a will. Okay.
Oh my gosh, so many of you. That's
so
not
many,
even the norm.
but statistically, it's about half.
Okay.
And here's why I say so early, because some people are like, hey, I wasn't doing that. Here's why. I consider estate planning an act of love.
Okay.
So if you die, statistically, it's a low probability for young people, but if you die, it's a lot of work for people.
Yeah.
If you have done a will, it's less work, so it is an act of love. The second reason why I say start early, build the habit. Because when you're 25, what do you have? You have a futon, an iPhone, and that's it. There's nothing in the will. That's all you got, if that. When you're 30, 40, you got the futon, you got the iPhone, and maybe you have a little bit of savings. And it won't be such a big deal to do the big will, because you've done it before and you're just updating it because you now have a spouse or you have a kid or whatever.
Okay, it's very good that you sort of switch the perspective. You're doing everyone else in your life a favor.
Yeah, because you're
dead.
The
will.
You're dead. It's not a problem for you if your estate is a disaster, because you're dead.
Yes, if you're organized, it's going to be so much easier. They're already mourning your loss.
Yes.
So let's not make it more difficult for them. If you haven't done one yet, how do you get started?
Do it online.
Okay.
Start online. There are 3 providers here in Canada. There's Willful, there's Epilogue Wills, there's Legal Wills. Those are the 3 that I know most about.
Yeah.
It's cheap. It's like $100 at the low end. Maybe it's $400 at the high end, which is less than an estate lawyer. And what you're going to invest in is some time, but not a ton of time. I mean, these are so automated. You can do it on your phone. So you're like putting in your physical information, your personal information. You're eventually printing a document, which you will sign and then put somewhere safe. And then you're done.
Yeah. And then you do something special with yours. You actually give a copy to other people.
I make sure that my executor has a copy. I have one where they know, but they've got it. And they, I mean, I am going to live probably to 95, 96, something like that.
Forever,
so
Bruce.
I could have like 4 executors over time. It could be like, we're staffing a new one because the other one,
You're saying...
I hope that person had a will. Yeah, and I hope I inherited something from the executor who did 100%.
Now, you say do the online thing or on the phone if your situation is simple. What is an example of not simple?
Okay, so if you have a secret second family in Peru, like that no one knows about, don't do this method, because that's going to be complicated. There are things about your family circumstance. So maybe you've been divorced, you've got stepkids, or you have a child with an exceptionality. Because you really have to think about, okay, if I'm not here, who's going to fund and organize the future for my kid, depending on what that circumstance is. And then there are some things from an asset standpoint. So if you run your own business, if you've got a cottage that you want to split amongst family, if you've got a property in another country, those are all things that an estate lawyer is going to have a view on. And this is not a knock on estate lawyers. I think they play an extraordinary role. My issue is that because so few people do a will, their block is, I can't find the lawyer and I don't want to spend the money. Fine. Just do it online. Do this first one online, and then next time, as things get more complicated, maybe you will hire someone to do something more sophisticated.
Okay, you're saying don't let anything stand in your way. No. It's so easy. You can get it done today if you really wanted to. Outside of the will, what other documents do you need to be thinking about getting together?
2 in particular. There's the power of attorney for personal care, which is someone to make medical decisions if you're not able to do that. And the second is power of attorney for property. And they're called different things, but effectively, that power of attorney for property can make financial decisions for you. So they can pay your bill, all those sorts of things. The other thing, and we've joked about the executor, this is a big job.
No kidding.
You got to really think about who you are going to have as your executor, because it is an extraordinary amount of work, and it is not an honor, people. It is not like I am, with the godparents to your children.
It was.
You're like, you're going to be the best man at my wedding, and it's because of our relation. No, you want someone who's organized, and they're going to be on top of it. This person will not get a dress. They will not get to rent a tuxedo. There are no perks for them. It is a tremendous amount of work.
They have to really like you. And they have to be responsible.
For years. It could take years to settle this thing.
It can take
I
a
don't mean
long
to dissuade
time.
people from taking on the executor
you gotta
role.
do it,
And I
yeah.
will also say you can outsource it. So there are trust companies who have an executor service, and you pay a fee to have a firm be the executor of your estate.
Honestly, some of the situations I've seen, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So
No,
I'm happy you can actually buy an executor.
Yes.
Okay. The process can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for dealing with this whole situation?
3 things.
Okay.
Number 1, keep it simple.
Yeah.
So this first will, it's like basic assets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you still have your diaries from when you were a teenager?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so do I.
I have them from grade 3.
Do you really?
Little Orphan Annie diary.
Oh my gosh, you poor thing,
Yes.
sweet soul. So do you ever go read them?
Yeah, they're really funny.
They don't need to be in your will.
Right.
Yeah, they don't need to be in your will. So you're like, someone's going to want my art from grade 1, and I want to make sure that goes. No, they want to know where your cash is going.
Right.
Like that stuff. So you can have a separate letter that says, you know, in your case, publish the diaries.
Right.
In my case, burn the diaries.
Yes.
So those sorts of things. The second thing is set a deadline, because this is the best procrastination project ever.
Yeah.
And statistically, you're probably not going to need it, so why bother? Do it like you do file your taxes and keep it super simple.
Okay.
The last thing, and you and I have done such a great job of this so far in this conversation.
Okay.
Find the levity.
Yeah.
Like, because we are at a time, you and I, our aging parents are passing away.
They sure
it's
are.
happening.
Yeah.
Our friends are passing away.
Yeah.
And too early. It's happening. And statistically, that's not going to be the way that it goes for you and I.
Right.
So we're going to have some fun. So in my will, and everybody who will listen knows that there needs to be the Broadway songbook at the Celebration of Life, which will be amazing and massive and incredibly well attended.
Taking notes.
We begin with For Good from Wicked.
From Wicked,
And we finish with a choral rendition of Any Dream Will Do from Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
So it's going to be a subtle affair.
It's going to be very low-key. Very low-key. And there will be an incentive for, like, ugly crying. Like, ugly crying. Not because they're sad that I'm gone, though they are. I'm 95. What's to be expected?
Right.
They're going to ugly cry because of the difference that I made in their life.
Yes.
So good.
Okay. I hope I go.
I close my eyes.
Great lesson. Thank you.
Yes.